It was a crisp Monday morning when Elena first walked into the towering glass building of Carrington Enterprises. The elevator ride up felt like a journey into another world, a world she had never belonged to, but today she would navigate it as the newest member of the Billionaire's staff. A single mother working 2 jobs, Elena had spent the last 5 years balancing motherhood and survival. And now, at 28, she had landed a job she never imagined. Personal driver to the enigmatic and powerful billionaire, Alexander Carrington. The office smelled of polished wood and expensive cologne. The receptionist, smiling politely, guided her to the garage where Alexander's fleet of cars waited. Elena's heart raced as she approached a sleek black Aston Martin. She reminded herself, it's just a job, just a job. But deep down, she knew this job was more than just a paycheck. It was her chance to prove she could provide the life her 6-year-old daughter, Mia, deserved. Alexander appeared like a shadow from the corner of the garage, tall and impeccably dressed, with eyes that seemed to see everything at once. He was the kind of man people whispered about in awe and fear, yet something about him was quietly intriguing, almost human. "Elena," he said, voice calm yet commanding, "I hear you're punctual." "I am, sir," she replied, trying to steady her trembling hands. The first week passed in a blur of schedules, high-profile meetings, and silent drives through the city streets. Elena learned quickly that Alexander's life was one of precision and control, every moment accounted for, every decision calculated. And yet there were moments, rare glimpses, when his guard dropped. A brief smile at a passing child, a soft sigh when the traffic delayed him. Elena noticed these subtle cracks in his otherwise flawless exterior, and she couldn't help but feel curious about the man behind the billionaire title. One evening, after a particularly long day, Alexander called Elena to his office. "I need you to drive me to the hospital," he said. There was no hint of explanation, just a request. She nodded and adjusted her jacket, the cool night air brushing against her skin, as she drove him silently through the empty streets. At the hospital, he didn't speak until they were in the car again. "Elena, do you believe in honesty?" he asked suddenly. Taken aback, she glanced at him, unsure if this was part of some test. I do, sir. I always try to be honest." He looked at her for a long moment, then said, "I want to know everything. About you, about your life. No pretenses." Elena hesitated. It was not easy to reveal her struggles, her fears, the sleepless nights when bills stacked higher than hope. But something in Alexander's gaze told her that he wasn't interested in appearances or stories people crafted to impress. He wanted truth. So she began to speak, her voice trembling at first, then growing, stronger as she recounted her life. The divorce that left her to raise Mia alone, the nights she worked cleaning jobs just to afford groceries, the sacrifices she had made to ensure her daughter had stability. Alexander listened without interruption. The hum of the car engine filled the silence between her words, punctuated only by the occasional sigh from him. When she finished, there was a pause, a weight of quiet understanding that neither had spoken before. "I've never met anyone like you," Alexander said finally. "Most people would lie to me, embellish, or pretend. You just tell it like it is. It's rare." Elena's cheeks warmed. Compliments from someone like him felt unreal, almost surreal. "Thank you," she murmured, unsure how to respond. From that night on, something shifted between them. Elena still drove him to meetings and events, but now there was a sense of mutual respect, an invisible thread connecting their worlds despite the vast differences. Alexander began to share small fragments of his own life, the pressures of running a massive empire, the loneliness behind wealth, the burden of expectations that never ceased. She listened with the same compassion she had for anyone struggling, and slowly the walls around Alexander's heart seemed to soften. One rainy evening, Alexander asked her to take him to a part of the city he rarely visited. The streets were lined with older buildings, small cafes, and the smells of fresh bread and roasted coffee. "I want you to see something," he said, guiding her into a modest apartment complex. It was here, in this quiet corner of the city, that Elena saw a side of Alexander Carrington that no headline or rumor could ever capture. A man who remembered where he came from, a man capable of empathy despite his fortune. That night, as they sat in the car waiting for the rain to ease, Elena took a deep breath. She had rehearsed the words all day, wondering if she should keep them to herself. But there was a trust between them now, fragile but undeniable. "Alexander," she said softly, "I have to tell you something important, something I've never shared with anyone." He turned to her, his eyes intense yet gentle. "Go ahead." And so she did. She spoke of her dreams, the ones she had buried under bills and responsibilities. She spoke of her fears, her vulnerabilities, the nights she cried alone after putting Mia to bed. She told him the truth, not the polished version, not the version designed to impress, but the real story. Alexander didn't interrupt, he didn't judge, he just listened, and when she was done, he reached across the center console and placed a hand over hers. "Elena," he said, "thank you for trusting me. That honesty, it's rare and it's beautiful." The air between them was charged, not with romance or expectation, but with the quiet power of truth. That night, something inside Elena shifted as well. She realized that life wasn't just about survival. It was about connection, about being seen for who you truly were. And in that moment, a billionaire and a single mom discovered that wealth, power, and social status were nothing compared to the courage it took to be completely, unapologetically honest. If you've ever felt like your struggles went unnoticed, or that your voice didn't matter, take a moment to remember that honesty has a power all its own. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that truth and courage can change everything. After that night, Elena's life subtly shifted, though the outside world remained unchanged. She still drove Alexander to meetings, still navigated the hectic schedule of a billionaire's life, but there was a new weight and a new light inside her. She felt recognized, not just as an employee or a mother doing her best, but as a person whose struggles, dreams, and honesty mattered. Alexander, in his own way, seemed transformed as well. He became quieter around others, more reflective, as though Elena's words had softened some of the rigidity that came with wealth and responsibility. He began paying attention to the small details, how a flower in a cafe caught Elena's eye, the way she smiled when Mia's latest drawing was proudly shown to him. He noticed these things not as a wealthy man observing someone inferior, but as a human being recognizing another human being. One evening, Alexander called Elena to his office with an unusual request. "Elena," he said, "I want you to attend a charity gala with me, not as a driver, but as my guest. I want the world to see you." Elena blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. I can't. I have no formal attire and—" He cut her off with a soft smile. "I'll arrange everything. You just need to be yourself. That's enough." For the first time in years, Elena hesitated, wondering if she was ready to step into a world so far removed from her own. But something in Alexander's gaze, a mix of encouragement and quiet insistence, pushed her forward. She agreed, and for the first time, she allowed herself to be seen in a setting that had once felt completely foreign. The gala was dazzling. Chandeliers cast shimmering light across the polished floors. The air buzzed with whispers of wealth, power, and influence. But amid the luxury, Elena felt a strange calm. She knew she didn't belong to this world, but that didn't matter. Tonight, she belonged to herself. And when Alexander walked in beside her, introducing her as someone extraordinary, she felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. Throughout the night, Elena realized that honesty and courage had tangible power. People she had never met treated her with respect, not because of her appearance or her title, but because Alexander had chosen to recognize her as a human being of value. And though she never sought recognition, it was strangely validating to see that her truth could command attention in a room where wealth usually spoke louder than words. Later, as they stepped out into the crisp night air, Alexander turned to her. "You were incredible tonight," he said, "not because of the gala or the attention, but because of who you are. That authenticity, it's rare, Elena. I respect it." Elena's eyes welled with tears, not of sadness, but of relief and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. "I've spent so long just trying to survive. It feels strange to be seen for who I am, not for what I do." Alexander nodded. "You deserve that, and more, believe me." Over the following weeks, their relationship deepened, not romantically, but profoundly. Alexander shared his struggles and regrets, the ones few could understand, and Elena offered her own wisdom, born from hardship and resilience. They found a rhythm, a partnership of trust and respect that neither had expected. And slowly, Elena began to see a future that wasn't just about survival, but possibility. One night, as they returned from a late dinner, Alexander asked Elena to stop the car near a quiet park. The city lights shimmered on the wet streets, and the air smelled faintly of rain and new beginnings. "Elena," he said softly, "you've changed how I see everything. Not wealth, not power, just people. You remind me that there's so much more to life than numbers and titles." Elena looked at him, a warmth spreading through her chest. "I never wanted to change you," she replied. "I just wanted to be honest. I never thought that could make a difference." He smiled gently. "It does, more than you realize." As they drove away from the park that night, Elena realized something fundamental. Life's richest moments didn't come from money, status, or recognition. They came from truth, courage, and the willingness to show one's heart, even when the world expected walls. And in a world that often valued appearances above all else, she had dared to be real. The months that followed were a delicate balance of normalcy and transformation. Elena continued her responsibilities as Alexander's driver, but she also began to allow herself small joys. Coffee with a friend, a quiet evening with Mia, moments of self-care she had long neglected. Alexander, in turn, began involving her in aspects of his life that went beyond work, trusting her judgment in ways he rarely trusted anyone. Their connection became a quiet force, subtle but undeniable, a testament to the power of honesty and mutual respect. One evening, Mia, sensing the subtle shift in her mother's life, hugged Elena tightly. "Mommy," she whispered, "you're happy now, aren't you?" Elena smiled, tears prickling her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, I am." And though the path ahead remained uncertain, both Elena and Alexander knew that their lives had been irreversibly touched by one simple act: the courage to speak the truth. That night, as Elena tucked Mia into bed, she felt a peace she hadn't known in years. She had survived hardship, embraced honesty, and in doing so found a bridge between two worlds, a world of wealth and a world of real, heartfelt life. Alexander's presence in her life wasn't about money or power. It was about recognition, trust, and the unspoken bond that forms when two people see each other for who they truly are. And Elena knew that no matter what came next, she had learned something invaluable. Courage, honesty, and authenticity could indeed change everything.